Patriot Act is.
I know what it is. I need to be refreshed.
I don't know about the Patriot Act.
Last time I checked, that's invasion of privacy.
Government can listen in on phone calls.
Read their emails. I think their privacy should be respected.
It's an invasion of privacy.
I really don't.
Every day, by someone or thing, we are being watched. We are being tracked down, recorded, or listened to. As one of the key factors of the matter, government inches closer and closer to the destruction of our personal lives.
It was official. After reading the book 1984 by George Orwell, my apathetic views on government changed completely. The thought that government was or could be anywhere at any given time was more than enough to attract my attention. Have you read the book 1984 by George Orwell?
Yes, I have.
How would you relate that and what's going on today in government?
As far as the Patriot Act goes, there's a definite connection between the loss of privacy and the loss of personal freedoms and Big Brother, and being watched and being assessed and evaluated on everything that you're doing in order for certain people to feel more safe.
They do have cameras at every street light. They do have, they have everyone tracked and they know exactly where people are going, what they're doing, what they're buying, who they're talking to. And now the way that technology is working is the government can tap into our lives whenever they want for any purpose. That could be tapping phone calls, that could be going online and looking at internet things and personal files. So we are almost to the point where, we're almost like cattle and they can brand us or, give us a serial number or even, insert a microchip to keep track of the people. And I feel like our freedoms are kind of dwindling a little bit.
The loss of privacy is one aspect that is with us every day, and it was a central theme in 1984.
In fact, we have already lost so much of our right to privacy that I went on to conduct an experiment using false information extracted from Orwell's 1984. The idea was to tell people that it was illegal to write in a diary about our government, and if people believed it, apathy had already taken over. Did you know it is illegal to write in your diary about the government?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Of course, telling them the truth in the end. But why didn't we know this? Why isn't government projecting this information? You can't simply blame it entirely on the people for this lack of information. What are your views on government currently?
Our government, I believe its original intent of democracy was good. But over the past decade, 2 decades, our current government seems like they have been corrupting it and changing it for the worse.
Yeah, I agree with Andy, but not only do I think they've been corrupting our government, but I think we've kind of been overstepping our bounds in other areas before we fix what's wrong in America.
I think there's too much corruption now. There is too much money changing hands wrongfully. And
So is it all government's fault? Or is government doing all they can to better
the majority
America?
of Americans are just thinking about themselves. I think they are doing good, but they need to do better.
No, it's doing everything it can to screw us over. We're gonna spy on you and we're gonna, kill your men and your children like that. Here, let's send all the young men overseas and we're just gonna leave them there and, I don't know, let them die. Don't care. They're not our kids.
Is government doing everything they can for the good of America?
Probably not, actually. Because if they wanted the good of America, they'd really talk to us. They'd really get into what we want. And half the stuff people don't agree with.
In general, they work in the interests of people. It's just when money gets involved, which is always involved, that things become a little fuzzy.
As far as the war goes, no. I think that we've been led astray. I think we've been lied to on several occasions. I think people are finally starting to get wise to the fact that this administration is covering itself first and foremost, and that it's more important for them to save face and make their point, get their point across than it is to have people safe.
Throughout my interrogation, no one had given me a straight yes answer, but war played a big role in their opinions.
I think that what we're doing right now is extremely tragic. I think there are a lot of people that went into this situation feeling like they were fighting for their country, when in reality they were fighting for something that maybe didn't necessarily even exist. A cause was created. It was pulling on people's patriotism. It was calling on people to defend their country when all the facts weren't necessarily there to put boys and girls and men and women in harm's way. Got to remember that we're talking about brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and people who have a lot to lose other than just a limb or an eye or their national pride, I guess.
It's pointless.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous. I mean, you can go all the way back to, like, I know a lot of people argue, you know, George Bush Sr. and, you know, what he had to do with the Middle East, and now you have the next George Bush now who's taking that step farther and picking up right where his father left off. I think it's pointless, and I think there are interior motives behind it, and now that we've gone so far, it's kind of like you can't necessarily back out now.
I am for the war, especially on terror. Not too for sure about the whole Iraq thing, but I believe Saddam Hussein needed to be hoisted out of power. It goes back to World War II when we finally found out what was going on over in Germany, and we finally did something about it. Well, Hitler's just Hussein is a new Hitler. And with all the people that he's killed, without any warrant, he needed to be ousted.
Where are we headed?
To complete governmental control of its people. If we don't, fix it right now, then we're pretty much going to be ran by the government in our everyday lives. We're not going to have any choices. We're not going to have any thoughts of our own except for what the government tells us.
So what do we do? If we as Americans are as trapped by our own government as everyone says we are, how do we fix it? Do we fix it? Is there a way? In the end of Orwell's book 1984, the main character Winston ends up accepting his fate that he will never triumph over government. Do we just accept it?